If science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion, otherwise you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy? Darling? Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
Adrienne Barbeau patterned her voice after Alison Steele, who was a famous female disc jockey from the 60s, who was known as the Nightbird.
Yeah, I saw that.
Isn't that
fun factoid too?
Isn't that pretty fun? I did absolutely nothing for this movie because I feel absolutely nothing for this movie.
I was going to. I was like, oh, I watched it. Today I was literally like, I'm going to write the synopsis because I know it's my day. I'm going to actually write one so we don't do a 10-minute long rambling synopsis because the people who listen to this fucking podcast have seen the movie and so they don't need that. But I was just playing fucking Red Dead Redemption instead in all my free time today.
And that's better for you.
I'm preparing. Like... I'm deep in the horror, but I'm also there's always a crossover because next month obviously is Western month. So, this is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast, folks. That's Jordan. I'm Levi. May as well, right? We're kind of talking about.
I mean, we're getting into it.
This
people.
is pertinent information, you know. You clicked on the thing, so it's less than a week until Halloween.
I know, and this is I hate to admit this because you hear us from but the thing is, it's the next month I'm gonna miss horror, but I'm hitting that fatigue. I think everybody out there in podcast land, you're feeling it too. We respect you. I want horror forever.
I'm not. I don't have a horror fatigue. I have a movie everyday fatigue.
I think, yeah, but no, I think this is how I've like pictured it. I love our list. But since I'm locked into the list, this is what I found with The Fog. I was like, 20 minutes into it, and I was like, man, this would be a movie that I would like pause, and I would just watch later after I watched something else that like.
See, it's interesting.
On my watch list, and I don't know. It's weird.
I realized, I thought I'd seen The Fog, but then I realized that last time I tried to watch it, that's exactly what happened to me. Is I got 15, 20 minutes in, and I was like, I'm not in the mood for this. I'll put it on later. And I never did. And so I was like, when I put it on, I was like, okay, yeah, I remember now. I actually haven't seen this front to back. But for some reason this time I was a little bit more into it for most of the time. I don't know what it was. But it was working for me way more this time than my previous attempt, I guess let's say. But
This is a strong
we'll get into
rewatch film, and that'll be something we talk about.
Well, we'll get into it. It's very casual, you know what I mean? And I think that's kind of its strength and its weakness, which we'll see. So, anyway,
hey, you cool cat. Tell me, you got a synopsis?
Of course not. We're watching The Fog, right? John Carpenter's 1980 The Fog. I'll give you a quick rundown. So, in the town of Antonio Bay, I believe. Is this seaside town. There's a ancient legend that is told to some kiddos about a shipwreck that went off, it got lost in the fog and crashed on the shores, and these haunted mariners from 100 years ago. You soon find out, and I'll just get it out of the way, you soon find out from a diary that the townsfolk originally, the mariners coming were like going to try to start a leper colony nearby. And so the townsfolk tricked them into crashing and then stole their gold and started the town. And so this is the centennial, the 100-year anniversary of the town and the crime of this leper colony being killed. So the movie follows this disc jockey woman, her son, she is like a widow or something, and she runs a radio station out of a lighthouse, and that's pretty fun. And then it also follows the fucking dude from Halloween 3 as he picks up the easiest going hitchhiker ever, Jamie Lee Curtis, that's just like
the most freaky thing in the world happens, all their windows blow out. She's just like, this makes me horny, baby.
Dude, she immediately bangs him.
So odd.
Which is like, if you're trying not to get murdered in like 1980, like hitchhiking in the middle of the night across the country, like, I don't know, luckily it worked out. But, so weird things start happening in the town. The midnight comes along, a fucking ship at sea vanishes, but we know gets attacked by these ghostly pirate-like figures in the fog. They're murdered. They go out and everything's weird. And the fog, everyone immediately that's involved, Nick Castle, I think is his name, is the character's name, and Jamie Lee Curtis, they're like, oh shit, some weird shit happened with these guys in the fog. Oh no. And they kind of start getting in cahoots with the lady, the DJ, and a couple people get killed and they run away from the fog and they hide out with the priest, and the fog monsters show up, the ghosts, right? They're ghosts, but they're very physical too, which I think is kind of cool because they're ghosts and they're apparitions that come with the fog, but they'll just murder the fuck out of you.
I know, you're right.
But the priest eventually was like, it was his great grandfather's journal that was found, and he eventually is like, no, take me. I have your gold. We're sorry. The sins of my father, blah, blah, blah. And so the ghost pirates come and they're like, all right. And they take his gold and they disappear and they're like, wow, we did it. And so everyone fucks off. And they're like, oh, we saved the town. And only 5 people died instead of the 6 that the ghosts required. But then the priest at the end with the one last gotcha comes and he's like, why didn't you take me? I fucking have a death wish or whatever. And then the ghost comes back for one last scare and cuts his head off. The end. That's pretty much, that's the gist. This was, I don't know, this was fun. I liked it. I don't know. I'm torn because what I like about it is also what I don't like about it. It's weird. Because that's the thing. It's like this movie is very simple. It's very bare bones. And I kind of appreciate that. I think that's something about John Carpenter I like, that he doesn't spend time, like he doesn't waste your time. Like in any other movie, any other person I feel like they would spend 25 minutes being like, what? The fog is just fog, blah, blah, blah. But they are immediately like, oh no, the fog. Right. Like
it was kind of, yeah, like you said, it's frustrating because you're like, they just bought it. It's like they bought into it so fast that it almost it just became like like preposterous that they would like
right,
the fact that they're so like they almost seem like gullible, but like the fact that like it's just so simple. The story just is the fog. It is the campfire story, and that's what you're presented with at the beginning.
Well, and
the old man tells a campfire story, and that like here we are, we're seeing it. I personally wish it was more, because you mentioned in a comment that like you wish it was more, or you think that it feels very childish almost, or not childish, but like a family film. Like it doesn't, the R rating does not fit the theme of the movie.
It boggles my mind because I felt that this movie was made for 10-year-olds. Like
I thought it was, it felt like a Goonie. It felt like Goonies to me.
Oh, 100%. It felt like it could have been like an Aardman, right?
Right.
But by John Carpenter. And so I was like, oh, cool. Like, even the violent scenes are quick. There's zero blood. Like, the sword goes through a guy, and you see it really quick, and it's visceral, but it's not violent or gory. And it's like they're just this spooky presence, and they show up with quick hooks and slashes, and it's it would be it's a perfect.
It was very frustrating for me though, because I was expecting it to be a John Carpenter movie where there'd be a little bit more blood and goop and gore, but this is his like 3rd movie or something like that, right? 3rd or 4th movie.
Yeah.
So it's like he definitely was kind of
it was like
finding himself, I guess.
Dark Star, and then like, but that's the thing. It's like,
I mean, Halloween has zero gore,
right?
Zero,
he was coming off of Halloween and then came to this, and so it's like the tension and the suspense is all there. Because even Halloween, I don't think is like that. Like, I think a child could watch it, but they could not kind of deal with the slow, methodical pace of Halloween. Whereas this had a much more like urgent.
But this didn't have enough though to be a kids. That's why I'm like, I think it would have been nice if this was like re-edited or like I think you could take the existing footage and you could remaster it and make it a little bit more whimsical. And I think, I think it would work better. I don't know.
I feel like that
I just was
doesn't.
thinking it's like it's very frustrating because it is in this middle ground where like the whole time I was watching this, I was like, oh, okay, here's gonna be like we're gonna see even just not violent and gore like but not like his like The Thing or something where it's like we're watching body pieces. But I was expecting like some aftermath. Like the fog takes you, hurts you, and kills you, and then it's like, oh, here's what's left of these people. But it's no, they just get taken away into the fog.
The one body you see in the aftermath was actually fucking fascinating. Is the one guy on the ship they find?
I know, right?
And his eyes are all gouged out.
Don't get me wrong. I guess this is it. I don't want people.
But it's not. But it's not gory at all.
No, clearly, I mean, he barely, and you see him for a blink of the eye. It's so little. That like it's almost like you didn't need to see him even. It doesn't even matter.
I don't
like,
know.
When he fell out.
I thought it was a good jump
scary.
scare because it was like a misdirect where it's like the like cabinet falls open and you're like, oh, and then he's like falls on her.
No, and it's a good prop too. He looks great.
He
like
looks
in that. But it's like you don't get to see him enough. I thought we'd get to see him like on the table more.
I hope.
And I love the idea. Like I wish you could have seen like his blackened fingers because they're frostbite. Like I love the thought process.
They're like, yeah, he's been in the water for months,
Yeah, right. Like
everything's
they
rusted. It's cool.
Like with this fog that comes through, it's like their presence is so like it's so evil and it's so supernatural that like it looks like he was underwater for 10 months or something. I can't remember. He says something about that where he's like, we found those divers that were under there for like a week or something, and they looked,
and he's like, you can be down there for a long time because it's like ice because it's so cold. If you're down in the depths, it like preserves you, right? And I think the ghosts, the antagonists of this are so cool.
I know, and I wish we had more of them.
I agree, but see, that's the thing. It's like and I don't think it was. If this was intentional, because it's like, I don't like that kids' movies have to be goofy or silly or have jokes and gags. Like, this movie takes itself pretty seriously. And I think, like, a mature 8-year-old that likes horror would really love this. Like, I know if I watched this when I was a young kid, I would have fucking loved it. But I don't think that's Carpenter's intention. This is like,
it feels nostalgic, but I wasn't there for it. So it's like,
well, that's the thing. I'm pretty sure, especially with the R rating, this was made for adults. And the fact that this was made for adults, if you look at it through that lens, not nearly as enjoyable. Because since it had such a weird Aardman vibe and it was no blood, it felt very, and like, it was kind of dumbed down, like the character development, there was like none. Everyone just said what they thought, and it works for like a kid's movie being, for being very just like straightforward. The third act was super rushed, but it's effective. But the fact that it's supposed to be like more of this spooky, ominous, like ghost, like, I don't know. It just doesn't like, what's the audience? You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. It's like
my whole thought process behind it, as it was unfolding, I was like, shit, this is like what Salem's Lot did was so good for character development.
I was thinking of Salem's Lot, during this
like
too.
I was like, and Salem's Lot is actually like horrific compared to this movie, which is so funny. Like
Salem's Lot is a TV movie.
Yeah, it's a TV movie, but the monster in that is scary, and he's got like a very violent presence, and it's just like, it's a lot stronger. And then, I mean, and all the bodies in that cave in Salem's Lot when they're like crawling towards them, it's creepy. It's freaky.
It's creepy.
And
the vampire kids come into the windows, which is great.
Yeah, I mean that's just like, that's a fun effect, and like, it's so funny. I'm almost like, I wish this movie was this movie feels like a pilot episode for
100%
a larger story.
100%. I wish that was my biggest thing, because having watched Salem's Lot earlier in the month, and I'm currently reading Salem's Lot right now, this felt like it could have gone really interesting into the town, because like the whole premise is that this town is cursed. Anyone could be a victim. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not even directly at one person. It just happens to be.
And I wish that the victims made more sense for how,
or mattered.
For how
it's literally just pretty random.
For how direct it is. I wish that it was like, you're your this great grandpa, your great aunt, your great uncle. It's like, I wish that, like, for a movie that's so just like, he literally could be like, well, the centennial is making me think about my family tree, and I was related to this guy. And it's like, it could be, they basically just talk about their exposition. So it's just like, and it's so silly because the whole time I kept waiting for a misdirect and it didn't happen. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this movie, like, is just, it's just so straightforward that, like you said, there is something endearing about that, and something like, kind of like, it's almost refreshing that it's not over.
It doesn't try
over explain.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Weird way.
Yeah,
like,
I appreciate that they just fucking get on with it, But again, that's why I'm like conflicted, is because at the same time, there are other movies that do it and feel more underbaked. Like, this feels intentionally just like, let's just like, go, let's go. You know what I mean? I don't want to. I'm writing it. I don't want to have any fucking boring character development. Like, let's just fucking get on to the shit. You know what I mean?
I know, right?
And it does feel like that on purpose, but it is unfortunate because it's like, this could have been a really plodding, atmospheric, like 3 hour long that gets into the town. And then the last hour is like the entire town under siege. Ditch the sixth person. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, you could still have the priest give back the gold, sacrifices himself for atonement or whatever. Could have had it that route and still ended the curse or whatever, with the main characters being the direct lineage. But it's just like, you feel like it's going to get into the town more, and it doesn't. You know what I mean?
I like the 6. I think the town should get sieged by, like, it's like, only one character knew that 6 people had to die. And then, does she even tell them? I don't remember that. Getting that factoring out there. But then the diary, I guess, kind of explains it, right? Or at least, like,
and it's convenient that the priest. That's another thing, and it's fine,
because
when it's revealed.
That's rough. The priest, when the priest just like he like,
he's like, I didn't read this part, but I'll read it now because it's convenient to the plot.
Because it's convenient. No, and how the book is even found? It's literally just a wall. It's like, and then the wall opens up and there's a magic book that tells you the plot.
That's what makes it feel like a kid's. It feels very fucking Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
right.
very...
100%. That's why I was saying misdirect. I was waiting for a mask to get taken off because I kept thinking, I'm like, oh, this is going to be something about the Centennial. And
oh, that would have been amazing if it was like a Hot Fuzz kind of thing where it's like the town.
Yes, the town.
Like
that's 100% what I was thinking.
People.
Is like, I thought it was going to be that the mayor was trying to cover up the fact that they did those murders. She knew that, like, oh, we murdered that colony. Like, even though I know it's like kind of somewhat popular, but like, I thought she was going to have the gold, and I thought she was going to be using that gold again to fund the town.
To be like more of a villain. I thought it was going to go that route too.
Right. There's just, I guess it's kind of one of those funny things where it's like there are so many movies. Like, I just thought this movie was going to be more sophisticated, so like I kind of ruined it for myself because the whole time I kept being like, oh, I'm going to follow this thread in my mind because like it's got to be something like this, right? Or then like I was like, no, maybe this, and then I was like, oh, well, maybe the dude telling the story at the beginning, like maybe he's some sort of like Crypt Keeper style storyteller, and he knows, and they're gonna come to him and they're gonna be like, hey, how do we defeat these guys or some shit like that. I was expecting more, and I was just kind of presented with this like milquetoast.
It is, yeah, that's fair.
The fog looked. That's the thing, though. I will say, this has the greatest looking fog acting, the lighting with the fog, and them like.
It's so good because it's just like fucking like actual fire, like just fucking dry ice.
So thick. Yeah, right. You can tell it's like it literally is like those huge dry ice vats that have that like huge tube, and it's just like. You can like it's pumping in that fog, and like, but the lighting looks so sick, like inside the church and everything, and like when he grabs the gold and it's like lighting up,
so cool.
That cross, beautiful imagery, but it's so shallow. That's just it. That's all we got. And so it's like, I don't know.
No, it's fine because it's like it is definitely like the only reason I enjoyed it as much as I did is weed. First of all, second of all, is like. My expectations were kind of immediately tempered fairly low. Even though, like, I like John Carpenter, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I need to see the fog. Something about it, I think from my last time trying to watch it, I expected like really boring. And it kind of worked for me, but it's like, I am saddened by the potential. So I think the justifying it as like being more of like a kid's an entry point for like the genre aesthetics is a way for me to like kind of look on the bright side and appreciate the movie more for that. But of course, I would much rather a hyper violent, more character developed, because it could have been.
I thought The Fog
could have been.
I was mistaking, or like I wasn't mistaking, but from the movie poster, I thought the Fog, like, now that I kind of realize what's going on and I've seen the movie poster makes like complete sense. But I thought that it was gonna be like the Fog was gonna be like some weird body horror. I didn't think creatures were gonna be in the Fog necessarily. I thought like the Fog was gonna like turn you insane or make you like zombie like. I don't know. I came into it with like such I ruined it for myself, and I'm frustrated that I did that. Because it's like, all right. The opening was beautiful, dude. It's like that pocket watch floating, and then he closes it and he tells that ghost story, and I'm like, God, this is good. This is getting me amped, dude. And then the dudes on the ship
boat, the boat was good.
The boat scene, like when you're like, okay, fuck, it's happening. And then it just like, why'd they go to this, like, I guess because the woman who owns the radio station, she's kind of like a cultural heart of the town.
Yeah.
So
well,
she has like access to
talking to the town is kind of a cool bit that I feel like was kind of underused.
No, and that's the whole thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, this is 100% a pilot episode to like a six episode miniseries or something. Like this really.
That they're like, it does like wrap it up, you know what I mean?
But of course it wraps it up. But it'd be like,
but barely. No, that's the thing. It's just like, yep, and then there it is.
Well, I just think it's silly too because they put so much emphasis on it being the centennial, but then it's happening the night before, the 100 years, and so it's just like, well, I guess it's not all in one day.
No, it's the night of. So it's like it starts when the conspirators planned, and so for only 1 hour, that's when the shipwrecked guys get killed. So there's only 1 hour the night before, and then the next night is the night they actually died. That's
what I'm saying, though. It started the night before the centennial.
But they could come all day, baby. That's the thing.
But that's what I mean. Then they could just then you didn't have to wrap it up so quick. You could have made
the
it where
fog only happens at night. It's supernatural fog, bro.
I get it.
Can't have day fog. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm just bummed because John Carpenter is, I don't know. I mean, better than this, but also
this sort of
not. I mean, I love him, but
I don't know the story to this, and I don't know how much money he made, but it definitely kind of felt like a paycheck movie. You know what I mean? It definitely felt like he made Halloween, and they're like, here, like, like it feels like the other person who co-wrote it was like,
I'll jump ahead.
Yeah,
it was $1 million.
Was the budget?
It was $1 million, dude, which is pretty impressive for what we got.
From the amount, like the effects are solid. You know what I mean? That, yeah.
But it really does feel like a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, it really. I think the most apt comparison, like we've been saying this whole time, is Salem's Lot. Yeah. But Salem's Lot really had over 3 hours to kind of breathe, and even that was too short. So
right.
This was an hour 27 or whatever,
Yeah, right. And this is like unoriginal screenplay. So I mean, that's
that's the thing.
But
everything else felt phoned in. But I love the idea of these cursed leper colony that's killed, of like these old pirate sailors looking motherfuckers, and it's like the fog encompasses you, and they can only like exist in the fog, but they're like this physical presence. Like they could have really played with that more. Like the fog fills the house. And they could be anywhere because they can just appear.
Dude, do you know how frustrating this whole like knocking on the door thing was? It wasn't consistent. I don't know, man. I feel bad. I have too much like, I didn't want to come into this with such like criticism, but I mean, they made their money. They made like 21 million.
Oh yeah. So
it did. Yeah. It got a 4K release too. It's like, it's a classic.
It looks good.
In his filmography, but
I like it despite its flaws, and like I said, I'll show it to my children because I feel like it takes itself serious enough, and it's like, yeah, good for kids without being like condescending, but it's probably because it's not made for kids, it's made for stupid adults. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's made for adults that were like, I really liked Halloween, but God, it's just like, can't we just have more stuff? Like, they're not doing enough stuff. They're just getting stalked, you know? And so they're like, oh yeah, let's just have them doing stuff.
I think it gives me a better appreciation for Halloween.
Yeah.
For how simple it is and for how effective like the camera work is. Because in this, it's like there's really nothing aside from that, like the aesthetic from the.
Oh yeah, the fog
the
look
fog.
and like the cinematography, framing and all and lighting were good. But yeah, the camera was very still, I guess. You know what I mean too. Yeah, while we're talking about Carpenter though, and like Halloween, sorry. The score was pretty dope sometimes.
I know that's what I love. Well, I love how
he always has got a good score.
He's got to do his score, and it just it's like the second that like synthy stuff comes in, it's like it's so fun. That is the thing I love. I actually was thinking for this movie, you said paycheck movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that. I'm more like this was his like. I want to do the score for this, and that's all. That's what he focused on. He was just like, sure, I'll be the director, but then Deborah Hill probably did most of the legwork because he was just like, sure, I'll be a director on this, but can I?
They're like, John, we got a scene, and he's just like, he's just in there like, you know?
Yeah, I know. He really, yeah, like
his '80s scores are so fucking primo.
Even
his 90s scores, they hurt me kind of, but they're fun. Because then he discovered like electric guitar and saxophone instead of synths, you know?
Oh, yeah, right. I guess that's true, huh? Yeah, he probably tried to learn. He could probably play piano, and then he was like, oh, I got this synth, and this synth can do a lot, baby.
Yeah, because you remember the score at all for like In the Mouth of Madness? It's painfully 90s.
Is it super saxy?
Because it's like sax and like electric guitar, like a lot of it. Like,
yeah, okay, I can
it's still kind of fun, but I'm just like, but coming to this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is some Carpenter good score. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, really though, it's like, I think it's like because Carpenter made the Thing. That's like the. I don't know. That's the movie. I'm like, I want all of his other movies to be as good as The Thing.
No, yeah, it's like he got kind of lucky because it's like he's really good at what he does, or he was anyway. I mean, he hasn't really made a good movie in like 30 years or something. But
no, really though.
Not that his last movie, The Ward, which was like 13 years ago or something, was okay, but I appreciated his attempt, but anyway, he.
Did you ever see this movie called Memoirs of an Invisible Man?
No, it looked dumb because it had Chevy Chase in it. I was like,
I'm like, we should have put that in our Visible Man when we did.
I saw it and I cringed at the poster.
It's brutal, dude. It's brutal. I'm watching the trailer for it right now. It's insanely rough, and I'm like, I gotta get my hands on this.
Yeah, I kind of want to rewatch like Ghosts of Mars and shit because.
Oh my
you ever
God,
seen Ghost of Mars?
I did. Yeah, I saw it in theaters. And
yeah, I saw it when it came out too, and obviously we were pretty young. But I want to see it now and see how I feel about it because I remember it was pretty dumb even then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm man. I'm sitting here like looking at his filmography, and I'm like,
Carpenter.
I don't know.
He's more than that's the thing. It's like we like him the same way we like, in my opinion, anyway. Like Guillermo del Toro, right? Like. He's made some great movies. I like him, but he doesn't always knock it out of the park. And some of his movies I actively kind of don't like. But he himself is such like a personality within the genre, and has like his passion really shows, even if it doesn't always really strike lightning, like The Thing, like Halloween. You know, what I mean?
Even his escapes, dude. I mean, like They Live. I like They Live, and. I love Big Trouble in Little China.
They're fun.
That's the thing. He's great.
They're good.
Escape from New York is amazing too.
But
that's like.
I think that's the thing though. It's like he's having a lot of fun, and you feel that in his movies. But maybe I'm just like a hardcore purist horror nerd that's just like, oh, I wish his movies were actually scary, like Halloween, like The Thing, his quote unquote masterpieces, right? And so The Fog definitely felt like it could have benefited from going one way or the other, either coming out when he was being more like a little bit more silly, having fun, like late 80s, you know what I mean? Like he was doing like Big Trouble in Little China and stuff like that, like getting kind of crazy with the practical effects. This definitely felt like he was still too young and he was taking it really seriously, but not seriously enough. Like he was just having fun with it, but not the fun he would have later. You know what I mean? And so it does feel like it kind of has an identity crisis. You know, it's like, who is this for? Is it like supposed to be like a lighthearted like ghost story, or is it supposed to be like this serious like terror? Like I think it's just a way to create cool horror imagery, pretty much at the end of the day, is to just be like, oh, the fog, and there's these fucking ghosts in the fog, and look how cool they look, and that's kind of the extent of it. Because all the characters are absolutely useless.
They're so bad. Like it's like clearly the
DJ is
main
all right. You know what I mean?
woman. Yeah, like
She's
clearly
fine.
she's.
It should have just focused on her though. Like honestly,
I know
that Nick, whatever, being like all going around town, he's just like the everyday man.
Yeah, he's, like, trying to
He's
find
just like his name's Nick Protagonist. Like I need to move the story along, and the only reason that Jamie Lee Curtis is here is so I can explain out loud to someone what's happening.
Like Jamie Lee Curtis is such a fucking nothing throwaway character in this movie that it's like painful.
I had to
like,
rewind it at the end. I'm like, what happened to her character? I literally, after it ended, I was like, what happened to her? I rewound it, and I'm like, oh, she just kind of is there at the climax, and then then it ends.
Her hair gets pulled, I think, right?
That's not even her. That's the assistant.
Oh, that was the assistant? Oh, my God. No, I'm pretty sure there's continuity error then.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like,
they should have.
Jamie Lee Curtis walks away from the window and the assistant's standing. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It's like...
Doesn't matter. They should have been the same person, honestly, character-wise.
They really could have been. I don't know why Nick Protagonist wasn't trying to just... Yeah, like, it would have made so much more sense. Having Jamie Lee Curtis be the hitchhiker was the most awkward... Like, it's like... I guess it's almost like they were like, well, we're not going to give anyone character development, but we're going to add like 10 characters.
I had read somewhere, and I don't know how true this is, but I had read that John Carpenter and the other writer, I forget her name, had written in Jamie Lee Curtis's character after the fact just to give her a role. Because like, I guess she didn't really wasn't getting roles like crazy, and so they like were like, what the fuck, why isn't she getting roles? She was in Halloween, you know what I mean? But people didn't appreciate it as much as they do now, obviously. But so they're like, okay, let's just write her apart, and then she literally is just like the appendage of Nick Protagonist, and it's just there for him to talk out loud. Because like
that makes me feel better, because she really does seem like a character that was just written in out of nowhere, and they were like, well, let's just have her get picked up, I guess. It's like she's a hitchhiker, and so now she appears. Now she's in it.
Right, which is like why, I don't know. Like it's like if you're going to do it so small, like just condense the whole thing. Like the mayor and the assistant didn't really have anything to add to the story. The priest is kind of there as the exposition dump, but if you would have brought him into it more, it would have worked more. Get rid of if you want Sam Protagonist, have him be, instead of the DJs having a husband that's dead, have him be like the ex-husband. They're estranged. Right? Yeah. They have to come together over the child, and then they get back together at the end, even though that's cliche. That would have worked.
But that would have been great. And call me old-fashioned. Speaking of cliche, can I get my exposition dumps in the third act, please? That like the priest literally, it was like so awkward when he just like, they're in the church, and he literally explains the whole thing.
He springs out of the shadows, too.
Out of the shadows, and then he just explains.
Like, sorry to scare you.
I know. Well, no, that was a misdirect, which was like, if this was a stronger movie, I would have liked that misdirect, but I really was like, I wish he was more in on it. Like, the fact that I feel like maybe he was supposed to be more in on it, because his whole reaction at the end is so fucking out of character, but... Well, it's like he just
play up the guilt.
Dumps.
He's got guilt.
Right.
Play it up. You know what I mean? If they're gonna do that, like he's like, "Oh, my grandfather was this town is built on the blood of innocent lepers."
Well, it's like and like the whole like they emphasize that the church got to be built mainly. That was like a big part of it, was the church got a lot of the money. So it's like that's like, you know, he clearly could have been like.
I really like the setup of this like leper colony,
I know,
and I love the villains. I just like if it would have been more about
down.
that. All right, let's rewrite our Fog remake because there was a remake which apparently was fucking terrible, which it looks terrible.
And you know it'll be stop motion because that's
dude,
that's the best.
God, buddy.
Do you know how sexy that would be, dude?
It'd be perfect too because you could just use less fog. You know, you can obscure.
Well, I was thinking.
Oh, can we please make a fog stop motion?
I was thinking like this movie kind of gives me like Paranorman. I feel like didn't really take from this movie necessarily, but kind of in that town aspect, that small little quirky town. But God, I just wish this freaking movie
even
had
the town
more quirky characters.
Yeah, even the town in Paranorman felt more realized than the town
right?
than Antonio Bay. And like the kid, we spend a fair amount of time with the kid, and he is, and like I know child actors are just whatever, but it so many times he's on camera, it feels like he does not know what to react to. They're just like, all right, just stand over there, buddy, you're doing great, and he's just like, and they're like, all right, your nanny's getting brutally murdered now, and he's like, all right, okay.
I know that whole scene was so like she was just like. Go, and he's like, no, I'll just stand here and watch. No, go. No, I want to stand and watch. And I'm just like, what are they doing?
That was my favorite scene, just because it's like I thought the fog looked the coolest. I mean, not my favorite, but my favorite in the second half. I think the boat scene was better, but
it's that's the best. That's the best part.
The best fog attack. Well, because it's like you see the ship, and then it's just like the sudden violence is cool, and I kind of like it would be cool if it was bloody. But I think it was refreshing because we've been watching so many like 80s slasher movies lately, which don't get me wrong, I love me some like Tom Savini, but like close up in the juggler with blood spraying everywhere is starting to feel old hat. So I kind of was appreciating to just be like, the guy's like, oh man, spooky fog, and there's like shink, and then the sword is out of his chest. And there's not there's not a drop of blood on it, which makes it feel like even more spectral. And
sure.
And it's everything's so cold. Like, I don't know.
That's what I love. That's what I love. It's like, I wish that was
menacing.
more of a thing. Like, dude, we don't do this on this podcast, and I don't want to start doing it, but I'm going to kind of do like a little abridged version. My least favorite scene is that fucking dumb, stupid weatherman guy.
Oh, yeah.
That just is like, it's just like so like, well, I'm going to go look at the door now. And like he's like, and if it's somebody out there, I'll be able to handle them. I can take care of anybody.
It's just some guys playing that old Centennial joke.
Oh, yeah. He's on the phone, and you hear him. He's like, go, and she's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he's like, go.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like the limited. It like a lot of the tension kind of fizzles out. Unfortunately, because the whole like 6, because the sign. Saying 6 must die and then catching on fire and leaking water is fucking cool.
Right. No, and that,
but
leaking water was cool.
By the time it says that, basically 3 random dudes have been killed, and then the fucking random guy who's horning on the DJ, he gets killed. Then the random nanny gets killed. So by the climax, you only need one more death, and everyone that's died so far is totally insignificant.
It's so insignificant that like it's frustrating.
It is.
Really,
it's frustrating.
The more we talk about this movie, the less I like it. Like rarely does that happen. Usually we'll talk about it, and I'll come to like more of an understanding where they were going for,
right?
What they wanted to accomplish. But this does feel like you said, a paycheck, or just like it's so phoned in.
Yeah,
and it just like I feel like this might have been a movie that they were like trying to get a series or something out of, like that. That's what it feels like to me, that they were like, hey, this is like basically our pilot episode, not a pilot of a fleshed out series, but just like, here's our like proof of concept.
Yeah.
Now can we get a show?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if this
said there was one coming, right?
See, I would love if they did like a modern The Fog, and we always say this too. They're like, oh, if they would have make it a 6-part miniseries or whatever. But
right,
make this a 6-part miniseries, but keep all the practical effects. Don't do any fucking stupid CG fog or anything. And just like make it about the town. Make it about this town that's built on this secret history of blood. Because it's like that's what's intriguing. And you could tell they kind of like, there's like the scene where they have like a fucking centennial event, but it's like at night for some reason, and the extras are just the town folk. Like, make it about the town. You know what I mean? And if you want to make it this intimate family thing, do that. But it's not. And so the stakes kind of fizzle out by the end because it'd be like, oh, if they sacrificed the boy as the 6th kill, then maybe there would have been some sort of like tension or something. But at the end, it's like, I like that the priest is going to sacrifice himself, but then basically they're like, oh, that's cool. But or is it? And I hated that ending because it made no sense. They came back for one more.
They came back. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, well, okay, so then then they had to take the 6 lives.
That's the thing that makes it feel like it was made for kids though, where it was just very Scooby-Doo, very so I don't know. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit because I feel like if you dumb yourself down to a 8-year-old child, you're like, yeah, this movie's pretty cool. You know what I mean? I just I don't know. Like I appreciate those elements, but looking at it as a whole, and I'm giving it way too much credit, absolutely, because that was definitely, I don't feel its intent. And so I'm like applying an intent that wasn't there to try and justify the undercooked elements of it. And I know that. You know what I mean?
Sometimes we just watch, we watch a dud.
I think it's a happy accident. Yeah, it's like,
that's life.
I'm glad I've watched it, like all movies.
Yeah.
I don't think it was, I think, it's got more bad than good, but what it does good, I do like. And it's, it's near the bottom of John Carpenter's filmography, but not all the way down there. There's the worst ones. For sure.
There is, yeah. I mean, that's okay. Okay, I guess you're right. There are
that's the thing.
movies.
It's just like, especially so. There's like that interview with him the other day. I only saw like snips of it on Reddit or whatever, but where he was like, I'm not the fucking master of horror. I just want to play video games all day. It's like, and write music. Like that's all I want to do, and that's great. You know what I mean? I don't know. So it's like I just respect the guy, and I do feel like, and if David's listening to this, I apologize because he's like the biggest John Carpenter fan. But
dude, mad respect. Like Dark Star is
that's the thing.
Such a good movie.
Dark Star is supremely underrated.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like we're Dark Star stands throughout.
Go listen to that episode.
Yeah.
How many John Carpenter episodes have we done? We've done quite a few actually. So it's like we did Dark Star. We definitely did Halloween, but it was part of Horror-tober. We did the thing.
True. We did the thing.
We did They Live.
That one. Oh yeah, we did They Live. Holy shit, we're going down his
Fog.
list. Okay.
So we've done quite a few. So
we haven't. So this is one thing I was actually looking up the other day. We have not completed a director's filmography yet, and that is something. Well, I guess actually no, I just lied. Technically, we did because there was a director of Popcorn, and that was part of Horror-tober, and he only directed that one movie. So technically,
Popcorn
outside. Yeah, Popcorn. Don't you remember Popcorn? Or wait, did we not watch that for a
Popcorn? What the fuck are you talking about?
Did we not watch that for a Horror-tober?
What is that? What is that movie?
Popcorn. It's like the kids in the it's like a group of students. They're watching old movies. We watched it, dude.
I've never seen Popcorn.
Oh fuck! Oh, did we not do it?
You're losing your fucking mind, man. I thought you were.
We're too deep, dude. We're too deep into the horror. Man. Wait, we really haven't watched. We haven't watched Popcorn for one of the.
I've never even heard of that. No, absolutely.
Why did
not.
I watch it?
I thought you were talking about Possum. Is what I thought you were talking about.
Possum. Oh, do you? I wonder if that. See, now I'm like, is there a director?
Well, one-offs.
Okay, we didn't watch.
I'm sure there's some one-offs, but
I wonder if there are some one-offs. Oh, there has to be. I think Greasy Strangler. That was his only feature.
Well,
anyway,
he's got another one now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But all right,
because I want to see it. I like it.
Still okay. We'll have to talk about Popcorn. Popcorn, everybody out there in podcast land, it's one of my favorite movies. Dude, are you sure Travis watched it?
I'm 100%
Did Travis just watch it because of my...
He must have, dude, because I've never seen that movie.
He must have watched it because of my review.
And we sure as fuck have never done a podcast about it. I can promise you that.
Well, no, I thought it was part of Horror-tober, so we just talked about it briefly.
Right, yeah.
Are you sure, dude? Oh my God, now I'm like...
I'm sure because I had to go over the last Horror-tober lists. Because I started watching The Fog, and I was like, oh shit, have we already done The Fog? And so I had to go back. I had to do that 3 times this month to be like, have we watched that or not? And make sure I don't duplicate. Because
then I watched Popcorn for one of the Horror-tobers just by myself. And it's such a, I highly recommend it. That'll be your 30-second movie this year, everybody.
I'll
go out, watch Popcorn. It's a one-hit wonder, and it's fucking amazing. It's like, oh, I think it's because did we watch Demons? No, we didn't watch. Demons,
Yeah, we did watch Demons.
No, we watched Demons. I think that's how I found it. Is because Demons takes place in a movie theater, and it's kind of campy and goofy.
Yeah.
But then Popcorn takes place in a movie theater, and it's campy and goofy, but it's got sick body horror, and it has like the kids are watching old movies, and the old 50s monster movies, like Universal monster movies, they're all made up. They were all like the director directed them and made his own like
that sounds
campy
dope.
Movies. God, Popcorn's so good.
That sounds good. I'll add it to my watch list because you literally only have to utter the words body horror on there. Because that is one thing I'm sad this month.
Not necessarily body horror. It's
Well, I
kind of like a
know.
Phantom. He's like Phantom of the Opera. He like lives in the movie theater, but like the movies have kind of body horror in it, and there's like, I don't know. It's campy. It's fun. It ends with a fucking
Either
dance
way,
scene. I don't know.
we did not have enough fucking body horror this month, and I'm sad. And I picked this movie as part of the things because we didn't really have very many like ghosts or monsters either. So we we didn't vet it as much. We had a lot of killers and slashers this month, which I would almost. I know we'll talk about it our next episode. Do you have anything else to say about The Fog?
No, I mean the Fog's fine. Whatever.
It's
dude.
it's there. If you,
I will. It's kind of one that I probably will never watch again. But
I might
I'm
pop it on for my kids just to see their reaction as an experiment in like a few years. Just see.
That's a good idea to really see like
For my
when they're, like,
own
10,
personal
be like,
viewing, I'll
hey.
probably never watch it again. But yeah, I would be interested to see where they enjoy it. But anyway, so that's The Fog. Whatever. Moving on. The next podcast we do next week is going to be all a Horror-tober, just kind of like a quick 5 under 10 minutes wrap up of each movie. And so you'll get a feeling, because I was gonna say we watched like a lot of slashers and a lot of like killers this month, and I'm like I almost want to do a podcast about just that genre, deconstructing that.
Yeah, right.
Because this is the most slashers I've ever watched, and I'm like I don't know, it's interesting.
I know we have been kind of trying to figure out. I mean, you and I have been talking about it a lot, like what makes it a slasher, and then why are they like so intriguing, and why do they feel like the kind of lacking? Like I feel like there's so much more a slasher could offer, and there are some like really good, outstanding ones. But like, why is the slasher genre so synonymous with being like cheap?
Yeah,
and like being like super like low budget and ridiculous. I don't know. Yeah,
because they were.
I'm perplexed.
Yeah.
Well, right. Is it just like?
But they're
it's
cool
like,
on paper.
So was a lot of horror, and that's the thing. Yeah, they are. Like slashers as a genre, kind of feel like The Fog, where it's just like conceptually, I love the idea behind them, but then like their execution is always kind of lame. So I don't know that it's like and clearly there are like outliers, obviously, and everything. But
watching more slashers has given me appreciation for the slashers I kind of only liked, and now I like more after having watching like The Prowler and like Friday the 13th and stuff. So, but come listen next week where you'll get our opinions on those movies as well.
Oh yeah.
We'll lay them out, and then we're moving on to westerns, baby. If you've been around at least a year, we always follow up Horror-tober with Western Month. And for some people, that may be a boner kill, but for me, it's fucking rock hard Viagra, baby. Because I'm
gonna get on my ghost horse, and I'm gonna ride my ghost horse into horror westerns, because that's what we should do. I feel like it's kind of. I mean, we did that last year, but
I thought about it because there is quite a few good Western horror. So I might put a couple on, because again, I'm not sick of horrors. I'm just tired. I'm tired of watching movies every day. I love watching movies every day, but sometimes I'm like, God, I don't have time to watch a movie.
Well,
tonight.
I
gotta,
know,
like, squeeze
right,
it in.
yeah.
It gets harder every year the older we get, because it's like free time.
Oh, tell me about it, dude. It's like this could be my job. That would be great.
Yeah.
But I wish there was more. I want to. Yeah, I'm done with The Fog, but I wish there was more cool pirate ghosts. There aren't enough pirate ghosts.
I know. I was thinking that too, because it's like
outside of Scooby Doo,
they're cool.
Like every fucking episode is this pirate ghost, but it's like,
I know.
Yeah,
Scooby Doo.
I'm sad because it's like the closest thing to like a serious pirate ghost I can think of.
Well, I love like ghost ships, but like they're never done very cool, because like if you look at the movie Ghost Ship,
Right.
It's not very good, but I'm like, I want a cool ghost ship movie. Like, it's like every movie that touches on it, it's never about that. Like Triangle's got a ghost ship in it. That's cool.
Sure,
but
right.
it's
that's
not.
got
It's
a
not
literal. That's like a literal ghost ship.
Yeah, it's not like about that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I want to see.
That's where I'm like, this was cool. This is like, God. Oh well.
Oh well.
You know what?
Well, we'll just one day we'll just add it to the list of the movie. We'll just make a stop motion movie of just on a ship, ghost ship.
Yeah, exactly.
With fog.
All right, man. Well, yeah, I'm ready for next month. Westerns.
Yeah, I'm ready to
Everybody out there
to
join
have
us on Patreon.
the longest fuck
please.
episode of us talking about all the horror movies. Hopefully, we can contain ourselves.
I know. Yeah, I mean, we'll chat. Hopefully, we'll have a little visitor.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll
hopefully,
have some special guests for that episode.
Maybe that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for listening. I appreciate you. Thank you for the 2 people that voted. I wish everyone.
I know.
We got
I know, everybody.
nobody watched.
Thank
the
you
movie.
for voting. Thank you for voting, everybody. I know it was lower. Everyone I feel like is feeling kind of the fatigue. So we'll be getting there. But we love you all. Thank you for participating and being part of it.
There's some best for last. There's some pretty good ones coming up. I'm looking forward to watching. So
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
damn it.
All right.
Goodbye then.
Good night, folks.